Hello world, how's it going? So, it's like 4 or 5ish a.m. I'm awake, I'm in my PJs, and I thought, is there a better time to talk about the Bible? Give you a Bible story? I think not. So, I was thinking about Jesus calming the storm and how much it seems to reflect life, life for the Christian or life for anybody who does whatever God says. How every time we seem to do anything God tells us to do, all hell always seems to break loose. I mean, just look at Jesus calming the storm. So now, it's been a long day. Jesus has spent the day preaching to people, healing people, and being, freaking awesome. Because he's Jesus. He's freaking awesome. So he spent the day being pretty awesome at like everything, and night evening's coming, so he turns to his boys and he says, "Come on, let's cross over to the other side." And they say, "Sure, let's do it." So they get into their boats, they start sailing across, and as they do that, Jesus decides he's going to take a power nap, so he curls up and he goes to sleep, and his boys, they just keep sailing. And now I can imagine all the stuff that's going on in the spiritual realm. I mean, this is God on earth here. God on earth. And, Satan is obviously his enemy. So I can imagine that everywhere Jesus was, demons were always like watching him from a distance, always looking for an opening to take him out. I mean, they tried killing him even on the day he was born. I mean, why else would King Herod try to kill every firstborn in Bethlehem if not to take out the Son of God? So Jesus goes to sleep. His disciples are sailing. They're surrounded by water, and I can imagine Satan thinking, "Okay, now's our chance to get him. You go, guys. You go. Take him out." And suddenly, a storm builds up. The Bible calls Satan the prince of the power of the air. So the wind starts picking up, the waves start crashing against the boat, lightning flashes, wind is blowing, water's pouring into the boat. Suddenly, this nice, relaxing cruise across the Sea of Galilee isn't so nice and relaxing anymore. Now the disciples are freaking out. They're trying to keep the boats together. They're busy getting their buckets, pouring the water out. But as they scoop the water and pour it back out, the waves keep bringing it back in. So it feels like everything they're doing is meaningless. Everything they're doing is pointless. And through this whole mess, through them screaming, freaking out, pulling out their hair, Jesus is still taking his power nap with his holy drool flowing into his beard. And doesn't it always just feel like that when we try to obey God and just do as he says? All hell breaks loose and it feels like he's asleep. But the thing is, Jesus could sleep through it because he'd already decided we're going over to the other side. He did not say, let's go halfway and sink. And so because he did not say, let's go halfway and sink, he expected to get to the other side. He's God. When he says something, he expects it to happen, regardless of what happens in between. He still expects what he says to come to pass. He has confidence in everything he says, and he expects us to have confidence in what he says as well. So now, the disciples, like I said, they're freaking out. They're just full on panic mode, like any rational human being, and now they find like, okay, seriously, we need to wake him up. He needs to help us. So and I can imagine they didn't like wake up Jesus gently. I can imagine they shook him, maybe slapped him a little in the face. Well, that's what I would have done, but I'm me. And they're like, teacher, don't you even care that we're gonna drown? And I can imagine Jesus waking up all dazed, brushing the hair out of his eyes. Now the water that's been pouring into the boat is probably mixed in with all of his power nap drool, and he's wiping it away, yawning, and he sees all the commotion. He sees his boys freaking out, and he doesn't freak out with them. No. God never seems to freak out when storms happen while people are trying to do what he told them to do. He just stands up and he speaks to the storm. Really, yes. He stands up and he says 3 words. peace, be still. And I can imagine in that moment when he said those three words, his power reverberated in the spiritual realm, rippling through, blowing away every demonic force that was trying to kill him and sending them back to the hell where they came from. And as he speaks those words and his power flows through the air, flows through the spiritual realm, blows away all his enemies, the storm calms and his disciples just look at him with such awe. And then Jesus utters the words. I want to read these from the Bible, not just misquote him here. And he says, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still not have faith in me?" How interesting is that? Even when the storms of life raged against the disciples trying to do what Jesus did, what Jesus told them to do, he expected them to have faith in him in the storm. Because he said, let's go over to the other side, not let's go halfway and sink. And so even if the storm was raging, even if the boat was threatening to come apart, even if water was pouring in, he still expected them to believe that they would make it through to the other side in that storm, because Jesus said they should. Regardless of what you're going through, regardless of what hell is breaking loose, if God tells you, let's go, you should go over to the other side, do it. Of course you're going to meet opposition from the devil. Of course all hell is going to break loose when you do it. Because the devil doesn't want you to do what God says. Because anytime you do what God says, great things happen and miracles happen. He'll always bring some kind of test to you when you're trying to obey God. But take that as an opportunity to have a testimony. The devil will always try to bring some mess your way when you're trying to do as God says. But take that as a great opportunity, because your message for somebody else is coming up. Always trust God and always obey him in all things, even when it doesn't seem like he's there. Even if it seems like he's sleeping through your storm. Praise him in your storm regardless. He is the storm breaker and he lives within you. You have nothing to fear. Have a great morning. Ciao.